Hey, good morning, you guys. Chris Morgan here, and I'm happily standing down in the community room, wishing that I hadn't retired. Not. All right. So anyway, hey, we're going to go over FaceSearch, which is our Vigilant Solutions facial recognition application. I did want to make sure you guys understand what you do and don't have access to. The department has this program. You don't have a facial recognition policy, and I don't know necessarily if you guys are able to use the application in its full capacity yet. We are working with the folks to get that dialed in, and I'd expect to see some sort of a what do we call those? Special order, probably coming soon to help give you some guidance. But today, my goal is to teach you the basics about facial recognition, and it's particularly our product, FaceSearch. If you have questions, I got Brandon Dice here, and he's going to be monitoring the chat box. So please send a message to all, and Brandon will let me know, and then I'll unmute you. Speaking of muting, please make sure you're on mute so we don't have to hear you doing whatever it is that you're doing. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so FaceSearch. Let's see if we can get started. We can't get started. Hang on. Oh my gosh. All right, hang on. For some reason, I can't advance my slides, so I'm going to go ahead and do it from here. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about. I want to educate you on what facial recognition actually is and is not. We want to talk about facial recognition best practice. We're going to talk about myths and falsehoods. I don't know if you've been exposed to it or seen in the media. Facial recognition is one of those things that privacy advocates absolutely are scared out of their minds about. But we're going to talk about the truth and give you some tools to be able to have a conversation with those people if you need to, and be able to speak about it in an intelligent way. And then obviously we want to make sure you guys understand what you can and can't do with this technology so that we don't lose it, because anything good seems to end up in the pile of things we're not allowed to use anymore. So let's talk about facial recognition. What is it? So facial recognition is just a process. It's a process where we use a computer application to compare a picture that you have, and it's a picture that you got maybe from a CCTV camera, off of your social media website, wherever it came from. That picture is going to be used and compared to a database. You don't have a database available right now, but we are working with Long Beach PD, and we're hoping to have, along with the new RMS system, a database of local bad guys. So we'll talk about that in a minute. That's going to be called a gallery. Facial identification is a process. Facial identification is the thing that you're doing as the investigator. A lot of people say facial recognition misidentifies people and does all these horrible things. Well, the truth of the matter is facial recognition doesn't do any of that. You do. You, the investigator, are doing that comparison, and you're coming up to a conclusion, not the actual program. And then after you have that potential lead, you're going to do what's called facial verification. Facial verification is your due diligence. Hey, was that guy in custody at the time of the crime? Hey, is that guy a chronic burglar? Does he live in the area of your crime? It's your due diligence. It's your investigative work that you're going to do before you go take anybody into custody or do anything crazy. Not that we do anything crazy, right? Okay, face print. A face print is it's the computer's way of grabbing the image and then identifying points on that person's face that it's going to use to compare against a gallery of images. The algorithm is the computer's brain, essentially, that's saying, hey, these points on this person's face are close to the gallery image. And this stuff will make more sense as we get into it. Your gallery is your database. Vigilant offers a open source resourced database. In California, there's a bunch, and I'm going to show you in a little while, there's a bunch of images, but they're typically limited to sex offenders, Megan's Law, all those folks that are on the internet with their, they're there for a reason. Those are the people that we're able to scrape and have you compare against. The most powerful way you can use this tool is to have your own local database. And right now we don't. So that's something that's the challenge. Your probe image is the picture that you're working with. And we're going to talk about what you need to do as far as process. Your gallery image, that's the image in the system. And typically your gallery images are going to be booking photos. A lot of the privacy advocates get in a bad way about good people are being misidentified by these applications. They're not good people. These people are people that have been arrested and booked. Those are the only people that we're looking at. We're not looking at DMV photos. We're not looking at passport photos. None of that. It's just booking images. And then finally, the probe to template matching. That's the ability for you as the investigator to document why you believe that this person potentially might be the same. Brandon, any questions? All right, good. So as a facial examiner, you're going to need to know what you're looking at and how to use it. These are different types of images. The first is called a controlled image. Controlled image is something that is a very clean, high resolution, straightforward picture. An uncontrolled image is maybe something you got off of a CCTV camera. And I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to indoctrinate everybody who's on the call. You guys are all now facial examiners. You are going to be the experts that are going to actually be doing this work. Okay, it's not the application doing it, it's you guys. Agency manager for our particular application, Edwin Oak and Jeff Harris are our Learn agency managers. Occlusion is a fancy word for a thing blocking the person's face. And then landmark measurements are the things that you can measure on a face. Maybe the distance between eyes, the length of the nose, the distance from the upper lip to the bottom of the chin. These are all things that you can use to measure and document to kind of lay out the why you think this person is the same person. Okay, so let's talk about how facial recognition is used in law enforcement. First of all, and it's not used a lot like this, but it would be in the field. This is like we used to have the fingerprint readers, and you would have your suspect or whoever it was that you're talking to grab their fingerprint and put it in the system. This could be used the same way. Our application has the ability to take a picture in the field from your phone, compare it to a database, and potentially identify some people. The most common way this is being used is as a enhancement identification tool. This is a way for you to take a picture of your bad guy that you don't know who it is and either run it as is, or if it's not suitable for facial recognition, we're going to enhance it to a level that it's appropriate to be used for facial recognition. And I never really used this whenever I was here, but in the past year and so that I've been using it, it is amazing. It is amazing, and potentially has just so many different values for you as an agency. Other program types, active facial recognition. We have a product called Face Alert, and the example I would share with you is with those cameras and the Face Alert, a school potentially could have a list of people that shouldn't be there. It could be suspended folks, it could be adults that aren't supposed to be on campus, whatever it is. And the cameras are actively looking at the faces, comparing the detections with the list. And if somebody is not on a list or is on a list, it can send an alert. And that alert can be sent wherever you want, to the school administrator, to the SRO, whatever, and they could say, hey, this person is on campus and they shouldn't be. That's active facial recognition, and that is a great tool. Okay, how else can it be used? No identification in the field, we talked about that. You get a forgery call and you have your suspect who present an identification card that's not them. You can use that image and run it through the application to maybe identify who that person potentially might be. anytime you have reasonable suspicion and you stop somebody for a legal reason, you can use this technology. It's basically there for you anytime you need to identify somebody, for a lawful reason. Okay. Other ways you can use it: missing people. You could create a database with your person who you're looking for, and you can compare images to it. Identity theft, I talked about. Cold case investigations. If you have photos, maybe in the old days it wasn't suitable for facial recognition and you're going to run it through the LACRIS system, you can use this application to enhance those images and then run it in the LACRIS system with the enhanced image instead of just trying to run the one that didn't work. And we'll show you about how that works. And then lastly, identifying maybe for a humanitarian reasons. Yeah, okay, anyway. When you need to help somebody, or maybe somebody's, you have a victim that you can't identify, a Jane Doe, you could potentially take a picture of your dead body's face and run it through the system and identify somebody. I'm getting tongue-tied. All right, so this is a real quick video I want to show you. This is Las Vegas Metro. Las Vegas Metro is they've done a really good job using facial recognition, and obviously in Vegas, there's a lot of video. But this is just a real quick article that is really interesting about what they're doing with the application. So let me share this real quick.
A new section within the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is aimed at fusing cutting-edge technology with good old-fashioned police work. One innovation in particular is starting to help homicide detectives solve murders. Our Patrick Walker got an exclusive look at the year-old Technical Operations section.
It is widely cited that the first 48 hours after a violent crime are the most crucial to catching those who are responsible for it. That was the case in the murder of 20-year-old Bailey Short back in August. Leads were thin, investigators say, and at the time they had no idea who the victim was.
We found her, but we didn't find any identification, no belongings, nothing that would identify or give us a starting point to conduct the investigation.
That was the first time homicide detectives used facial recognition software to identify the victim, giving investigators perhaps a 24-hour head start on trying to track down leads instead of having to wait for the coroner.
We're in the middle of still developing this.
The newly minted Technical Operations section handled that request, turning around the ID in a matter of minutes. Along with some victim identification requests, the section runs photos of suspects in violent crimes, trying to generate leads for investigators to follow up on.
We use it in a very limited way, but we use it in areas where we desperately need some assistance in identifying a criminal who committed a very violent crime.
Lieutenant Dory Coring stresses that the database only contains mugshots of those who have gone through the criminal justice system in an effort to balance privacy concerns.
We only compare a photo of an individual committed a crime against photos of individuals who committed a crime to see if we have a match.
Though it's a new application of technology for Metro, Homicide Lieutenant Ray Spencer already sees another use to help his division.
If we have a photograph of someone that we can now submit for facial recognition review, we're now going to go back to old cases and we're going to have those reviewed as well.
Patrick Walker, 8 News Now.
The Technology Operations section is responsible for much more than just facial recognition requests.
Okay, so that's Vegas Metro. They also run their LPR program through the same office. What's different for them is they have a key group of people that are using the tools on a regular basis, opposed to putting it out there for everybody. And I think that's something for you guys to consider here too. Is it better to have a group of people that use the tool on a regular basis and get really good at it, and have everybody else on the detective side, hey, can you take this and do something with it? So just something to consider when it comes to policy. I saw a question pop up. Can you please send the questions to all? It didn't pop up for Brandon, and he's not able to answer it or let me know. So if you had a question, please send it to everybody. Okay, so how does facial recognition actually work? What it does is essentially you start with an image and you capture that image, which means you just have the picture on your computer, and then you take that image and you upload it to the system. The system then takes that image and it analyzes it. And remember we talked about the face print. It identifies the points on the face, up to 90 points, and then takes that and compares it to your database that you identified. We called it a gallery, but that's a database of bad guys. And then what it's going to do is it's going to compare those and then give you a list of people that potentially might match. And we're going to call it a potential match, a possible lead. Just something, it's a clue. Hang on. Did Darlene's pop up? Yeah, hang on a second, you guys. I'm trying to figure out this whole question thing.
Okay, here's it popped up. First popped up.
All right, confirming the photos Vigilant uses to compare with are only booking photos. There's no comparison to social media sites. No. The images that we're using in our database are all available on the open source internet. They're not social media sites. They're people that have been arrested for crimes, and all the correlating booking information for those crimes is part of the database. So hopefully that answers the question for you, Darlene. I apologize for not being able to do better with the questions. Okay, but we'll keep throwing them at me and we'll see what we can answer for you. Eventually, you're going to get that possible match, and then you're going to do your due diligence as an investigator to verify that that is or is not maybe your bad guy. Okay. Hang on. Okay, so what part of the face is read by the actual application? This is just a normal picture of a person. In the second image, you can see the face print, essentially from the top of the eyes down to the chin and ear to ear. That's it. Foreheads, ears, hair, all that stuff is not part of the actual application. It's just that little part that is pictured in the picture. That doesn't sound good, but it's okay. Hopefully you get it. Also, what images are suitable to be read? If you look at the red box around the people's faces, you have to have a part of the face that's identifiable to be able to get a result. Meaning that if your face is not showing, you can't do facial recognition on it. A good way of identifying a picture, yes or no, is it good, is if I knew that person, could identify them based on the picture. And that's kind of a template for how you can tell what's good and what's bad. So let's talk a little bit about those camera or those photos. What are they? What's good and what's not good? So you want to have uncropped original images if at all possible. A lot of times, and I'm sure none of the investigators out there ever have experienced this, you get video footage that you can't view because you didn't get the codec to go with the ability to run that particular security image. When you find what you're looking for, cut that picture out. You can't just take a picture of a moving video and expect it to work. You need to hit pause. You need to be able to export it. Whatever it is, you're looking for the highest quality way of exporting that image to start with something good to end up with something good. Okay, gallery images. This is one thing, and when we get Long Beach squared away and you guys have your own booking images, these are examples of actual booking photos that suck, right? I mean, they're funny, but they suck. If your murder suspect is one of these guys, and this is what you have to work with in the gallery, it's bad, right? So if you start seeing cruddy booking images, then you need to go down and talk to the booking sergeant or whoever's in charge of the jail now. Is it Panino? Who's in charge of the jail? It's Panino. Go talk to Commander Panino and have him make sure that he's taking good quality images. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So we want to make sure we're taking the best quality images that we can. Okay, so let's talk about privacy and case law. The privacy advocates have lost their minds with facial recognition. California, Oregon, Maine, all our states where actual cities have banned the law enforcement use of facial recognition, and I'd say it's criminal on their part to take this tool away from you guys because it works. Absolutely it works. And if people would listen to the truth, maybe you might have a better chance at being able to explain to them what is up and what isn't up. So here's something that happened to me. I'm just a random person. I got an email, or actually I got a text from this banfacialrecognition.com. I don't know why I got it, but I got it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I clicked the link, and I ended up with this advocacy group for banning facial recognition. They're just sending this out there. Tell your senator that you don't want facial recognition, and these are the reasons why. Number one, it's broken. It says facial recognition surveillance programs ID the wrong person up to 98% of the time. These errors have real-world impacts, wrongful imprisonment, deportation, or worse. I don't know what's worse. I guess we're going to kill them or something like that. But remember, facial recognition applications don't identify anybody. You, the investigator, do. All this is doing is it's giving you a clue. Then you take your clue, you do your invest, and you do your work. This is blatantly not true. Absolutely not true. How about this one? It's invasive. Law enforcement officers frequently search facial recognition databases without a warrant. Last I checked, you don't need a warrant to search a database of people that have been arrested, right? You as a police officer have every right to look at pictures on the internet or your booking images from any other agency. It's not true. All right. It's unjust. Facial recognition software systematically misidentifies people of color, women, and children. Okay, last time I checked, we don't do facial recognition on children, do we? I don't think so. And once again, the application doesn't know if you're black, brown, purple, green, or blue. It doesn't know any of that stuff. All it knows is there's a face print, and it matches potentially to this particular face print. You guys, the investigators, are the ones that are making the call, not the application. So it's obviously, this is not true. And if anybody has any questions, you throw them out there. It's vulnerable. This one might be a little bit true. Once our biometric information, aka a picture of you, is collected and stored in government databases, like it's not already, DMV, it's an easy target for identity thieves or state-sponsored hackers. This has already happened. Yes, it has happened, and we've all had our identity stolen, but that is not a reason to take away a tool that's going to potentially help put bad people in jail. It's absolutely, it's already happening, and I'm going to hold my phone up. This is probably the biggest problem. It's not law enforcement using facial recognition. It's your cell phone. All right, last one. Actually, there's two more. It's dangerous. Police officers across the country routinely abuse confidential databases to spy on exes, business partners, neighbors, and journalists. Unfortunately, it happens, right? But I'm telling you, this information is nothing compared to all the other information that's available on the open internet. Have you guys ever heard of paying for, what's the application that we used to pay for? Yeah, you name it, it's out there, and your personal identifiable information is vulnerable. It's not through this application. It's already out there. All right, my last one, it threatens our future. Facial recognition is unlike any other form of surveillance. It enables automated and ambiguous monitoring of an entire population, and it's nearly impossible to, where I lost my word, to avoid. If we don't stop it from spreading, it will be used not to keep us safe, but to control and oppress us, just as it's already being used in authoritarian states. My God, the world is going to end because we're using facial recognition. A big one out there is China is using this in certain ways that are maybe not appropriate. But hey, are we in China? Last I checked, this is still the United States of America, and there's still rights, and we're not violating them, and we're not doing that stuff. But this is the stuff that is tearing people up, and they're getting all upset about it. And the solution is to ban the technology. And I want you to understand that is not the case, but perception's everything. So you need to be able to educate people when you talk to them about what it really is and what we're really doing. So let's kind of talk a little bit, well, not yet, but we're going to talk about what that is that we're actually doing. So here's some privacy advocates, literature out there. I'm not going to get into these real deep, but the Electronic Freedom Foundation really has a problem with this. They've done some reports. This is one of them. It's available on the internet. It's called Face Off, and they're talking about the risks, the issues, and how they think law enforcement should be using the technology. But once again, this is the same group that's claiming that we're violating First Amendment rights, that we're disproportionately identifying people of color and women. It's just not so. So what are the rulings that have been out there that affect facial recognition? One, is there any expectation of privacy when you're in public? There isn't. There absolutely isn't. And you have no expectation of privacy when you step out into public. So if you do, and if you are, people know that this is occurring, and it is occurring on a regular basis. Okay? How about this one? Can facial recognition be admitted as evidence in trial? So as evidence, the answer in People versus Collins is no, it can't. Okay? It has value, but it is absolutely not to be considered sufficiently reliable. That is why we call it a clue, right? It's not factual. This is the person. This, you can bring it and show it as, hey, this is the tool that we used to develop a lead that led us to our investigation to identify this person as our bad guy. Okay, so we're not trying to say this is like fingerprints. It's not. It's a tool to develop a lead. That's all it is. Brandon, you got any questions? Nope. All right, you guys are so smart. U.S. versus Knots. This is an old case, but basically it is saying, and they use this for LPR and a bunch of other electronic surveillance, not surveillance, but like technologies. So what this is saying is anything you can do manually, you can do using technology. So in this case, what is facial recognition? This is, I have a picture of somebody and I'm comparing it to a group of other people. So old school, picture of bad guy, booking a photo book. And you're going through the pictures, flipping the pages, looking for somebody that looks similar. All we're doing is we're automating that and letting the technology help us look. So it causes no issue, the courts have ruled, to use technology to do what used to be a manual process. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and if you did the LPR class, we talked about LPR data, plate information, being not personally identifiable information. Your face is personally identifiable information. All that means is that we have to do the right thing and use the proper procedures for making sure that we protect our databases of people, right? We don't want to throw this out on the open source internet and all that kind of fun stuff. But your face is identifiable, and the courts have ruled we need to protect it. So 28 CFR Part 23 is applicable for this technology. Okay, so a major part of this process is doing it in a systematic way that you can document so that you can basically prove that you did things in a certain manner and document it so that people don't think you've gone off the deep end and you're doing weird stuff. So what we've done at Vigilant is we've come up with what we call the 5-step facial recognition workflow. And if you follow these steps, you're going to be solid on the technology, and your investigation, at least on the facial recognition part of it, should be intact. So let's talk real quick about why it's important to do this, follow this workflow. This is a case, Talley versus the City and County of Denver. He was arrested for robbery twice, and it wasn't him. But the investigators did a really crappy job of documenting their case and filing their case and whatnot. So I just want to show you a real quick video of what he went through to kind of give you an idea of why we need to do this the right way. So let me go ahead and get this going.
I do look like maybe Tom Hanks and Castaway. Steve Talley is not a man you want to trade shoes with. He's been homeless for the last 2 years. Blames Denver police. I have blood clots in my right leg. I have permanent bruising. I have right leg sciatica. I have the fractured penis. That's a permanent injury. They told me I need reconstructive surgery. The forward broken rib. His federal lawsuit for wrongful arrest obtained by the problem solvers says police didn't exactly go easy when they picked him up for allegedly robbing 2 banks, including this one in May of 2014. They knocked out teeth. You want to see my missing teeth? I have tinnitus from flashbang grenades. Talley was also booked for assaulting a police officer. In the video, you see the suspect struggle with the bank guard before he gets away. And police said Talley was the same man who robbed a second bank 4 months later, because his ex-wife said she recognized him in both videos. My kids did nothing wrong. I haven't seen my kids in 2 years because of this. Prosecutors eventually dropped the charges when Steve was able to prove his alibi with a time-stamped recorded phone call. Showing he was at work during the first robbery. But months later, relying on FBI facial recognition technology, Denver prosecutors refiled robbery charges for the second bank. But the FBI technology doesn't identify a mole on the suspect's right cheek that Talley clearly has. So then the FBI used a height analysis to compare Talley to the man in the video, only to discover Talley was 3 inches too tall to be the suspect. On the wrong height, on the wrong body type, on the wrong weight. I don't have scars on my hands. He was guilty before he was proven that he was innocent. Benita Schiff is the bank teller from the second robbery, who says she noticed that the suspect's clear gloves, strange markings on his hands. Now initially, Schiff did tell police she was 85% sure Talley, number 3 in the photo lineup, was the suspect. But she tells the problem solvers that was only after this man, Detective Jeffrey Hart, told her he'd already arrested Talley and pointed to him in the photo lineup. That's a huge professional no-no that earned Detective Hart a reprimand from Internal Affairs. When Benita Schiff later saw Talley in the flesh at court, she testified he was not the man who robbed her. He was an innocent man. He didn't do it. It would take months after her testimony, but eventually prosecutors dropped the second bank robbery charge for the second time. Too late, Talley says, revived his career as a financial broker. No, obviously, they destroyed my career. Though he still tries, spending his days at the downtown library, applying for jobs online. I essentially just collect rejection letters now. He gets his food from shelters, but hopes one day to taste victory in a courtroom. I'm looking forward to my day in court.
All right, so hopefully that helps you understand kind of the things that can happen if you do things the wrong way. Just like we do for every other arrest, but just don't rely on this technology to identify somebody. You do the work. You don't want to be that agency that has this story being shown in training presentations. Brandon, I saw there's a couple questions. You got it taken care of. Awesome. Okay. No, we don't want that. Okay, so what is this 5-step process? What it is, step 1 is identifying the image. Step 2 is running the search. Step 3 is the facial identification process. 4, verifying your choice. And 5, what do you do with that possible match? So let's talk about each one of these. Step 1, identifying the image. Essentially, you as the examiner need to be able to look at a picture and say, hey, is this suitable for facial recognition as is? Or do I need to do something to it to enhance it to make it suitable? And I'm going to show you an example of a picture that doesn't work. You run it without being enhanced and it does not work, and then I can run it after the enhancement and it actually returns a result. Words we don't use. We do not manipulate images. We don't edit images. We enhance them. Okay, and the advocates out there, the privacy advocates are saying, you know what, you're using cartoon images, you're doing all these things that are unscrupulous. No, you're taking something that isn't suitable, you're enhancing it so it is, so you can use it as a lead. Okay, so let's look at that. What are good controlled images? These are the ones that you can just take, crop them, and enroll them in the system. ID cards, passport photos, high-resolution photos that people are posting on their social media sites. Sometimes, and I'll show you the example, all you got to do is crop it and put it in the system. And you'll get a good, solid list of possible candidates right off the get-go. What doesn't work? Low-res photos, super low-res photos are not going to, if it's not there, we have a tool that'll soften and sharpen images, but if it's not there, it's not there. And that particular picture of that lady is absolutely not going to work. Photocopies of pictures, if it's a good quality photocopy, sure. But if it's a crappy one like this, Once again, if I knew that person, I may not be able to identify them just looking at that photo. That's a good guide. Cover faces, if you can't see the face, you look in the application, right? And then finally, weird profile off-axis photos. Things like that, you can do some enhancement to, but ones like that are obviously not going to work. Okay, so what can you do enhancement to? Low-res, skewed or distorted photos. This one is a drawing of a person that's really good, and you can actually use that tool, use our tools to enhance that to the place that you can actually run in the system. This picture at the bottom, this is my poster child for facial recognition. He's a dirtbag out of Florida. We have a lot of examples for him. But this picture is absolutely not suitable for facial recognition for a number of reasons. 1, he's not looking at the camera. 2, he's looking at the ground. 3, it only shows half his face. There's a whole bunch of reasons. But we're going to use the tools, and we're going to fix that photo and show you that we can absolutely make it work. Occlusions, that's a fancy word for things that block the face. We have some great tools like merge face. If you have a good half of the face, we have a tool that will let you grab it, copy it, and merge it together to create a usable image. And what's happened is most people, their faces are symmetrical. So if you have one side, you can use the tool to create the other. Okay? Bottom line, I think I already said this, does it meet the criteria for facial recognition? If not, can it be enhanced? If you can't, you need to reject it. You need to say, this isn't going to work, and we have the ability for you to create a rejected image report. And if it does, if it's something you can do, go do it. Get it done. And we'll talk about how to do that. All right, step two. Just before I do that, Brandon, any questions? All right, we're cruising through good. Step 2 is running the search. And running the search means getting that picture into the system and then doing any of the enhancements that you need to do and then hitting search. So what we're going to talk about real quick are what are the tools available in our application that can help you. Basic tools like resizing the image, cropping it, rotating it. Basic Photoshop type tools are available for you to do that to your image. We have merge face. I already talked to you about that. We have stamp, and that's where you have, let's say that somebody has sunglasses on. You can stamp out using the stamp tool, the sunglasses, and put a set of eyes just from our image gallery into it, and then run the application against the picture. And you can get some success. If the heads or the faces are looking the wrong way, we have a tool called Angle Adjust that allows you to actually turn the image. And it looks funny to us with our eyes, but to the application, it makes sense. It makes it have the ability to get a good quality face print. So I'm gonna show you that as well. We have clip art. I talked about that. Clip art's not necessarily necessary. The reason we offer clip art is because facial recognition works on a set of principles where they start at the eyes and to lock in the image, and then the face print is built from that point out. Well, sometimes the eyes aren't in the picture. Maybe their eyes are closed. Maybe half the face is covered, whatever it is. So you can put one of these clip art eyes into your photo. It's just to help you find the place to put the proper starting point for the Define Eyes tool. And at the bottom of this picture, this is just an example of how we took an image, we enhanced it, and that middle image is the enhanced image. It looks like a cartoon almost, but it's appropriate for facial recognition and it can work. Okay, we talked about in the Privacy Advocate issue department, the application thinks that it's, this person's black, white, green, male, female, whatever. Once again, all you have is you have a face print. You guys are then going to use our data filters to put things in place like, are they male or female? What race are they? What state are they from? And the reason you're doing that is because your database typically is huge and you want to narrow down your search to make it more of an efficient search. You, the investigator, are making the decision, not the computer. Okay, not the algorithm, not the application. Manage your expectations. Remember I said garbage in, garbage out? If you have a crappy picture to start with and you have to use a bunch of enhancement tools to make it suitable to be enrolled in the system, your return is going to be lower in the results. This application is pretty good, and you can typically expect that if you got a quality image, it's going to be in the top 25 returns. If you have an image that you have to do a lot of work with, it may be in between 50 and 100. So you, the investigator, are going to have to be going through those images looking for that potential match. Okay, and it'll make more sense when I show it to you. But manage your expectations, absolutely. Step 3, the facial identification process. This is your set of tools that you, the investigator, are going to use to compare images. You're comparing the images. And this is stuff like looking for what we call locks. A lock could be a big, fat, hairy mole on somebody's shin, right? They have the big, fat, hairy mole. When you're looking through pictures, you're looking for the big, fat, hairy mole. Hairlines, ears, tattoos, these are all things that you, when you do your searches, can absolutely use to help identify what people potentially might be a match. Does that make sense? Okay. Another thing that you can do to help yourself is split that face into quadrants. And when you're looking for stuff, only look at that one feature in that one quadrant. So you're looking, if you guys got a funky jacked up eye, just when you're going through your pictures, look for the funky jacked up eye. Okay? Make it easier on yourself, because otherwise you're looking through all these pictures and it can be overwhelming. Okay, so identify the locks, identify the features that you know your suspect has, and then when you do your searches, absolutely look for those features in that quadrant where it exists. Any questions? Okay, you guys getting it? Okay. We talked about physical features, hairlines. There's 50 million different kinds of hairlines. Ears are the same way. Those are very easily identifiable. Earring holes, oddities. I talked about the hairy mole. All things that you can absolutely use to help identify your folks. All right. So I've already said it, but you, the investigator, are the most important part of this thing. You're going to make the decision about who or who isn't your possible bad guy. Okay, the human element is you, and you got to be able to be in a place to make a decision. On the screen, this is an example of the process, and then this is our possible match report. Okay, and the possible match report, it's kind of cool. You start with what you started with. This is the person that was identified that you decided was going to be your match. This is the enhancement history. It'll show everything it did. If you cropped it, if you turned it, whatever you did, it's going to list it out. And then at the very bottom, you have the ability to annotate, fancy word for mark up the pictures as to why. And then this is something you can take to give to your investigator, or if you're the investigator, to put your case file to help you refresh your recollection as to why you thought this was your suspect. Okay? And then once you have this is just a lead. You're going to go then do your investigative work to prove or disprove that this is your bad guy. Okay? So some of the cool comparison tools that we also have in the system are up here. We have a side-to-side tool where you can compare images side to side. We have an overlap tool where you can actually overlap the two images and back one out over the other to compare. Blending tool, landmark tools, you can measure landmarks. If I want to measure the distance between a person's eyes, I can do it using the landmark tool. Horizontal and vertical comparisons. The 3D tool, that's on the right. You can take the image, convert it to it'll convert it to a 3D image that you can turn and compare to your probe image. So it'll show you things that maybe you didn't see in the first place. And the last thing is this 3D, we call it a wire tool. The 3D wire tool allows you to see a version of the face print. So if somebody has an indentation in their head, they got a lump on their head, you may not see it in the picture, but it will show up in the 3D tool, and you can compare the two images. And if they both have that, that's a clue that it might be potentially somebody you want to look at. Okay, this is an example of the comparison tools. So this one, let me see if I can make this work. Nope, hang on. Yeah, okay, that's why it doesn't work. These two, on its face, they look very similar, right? Would you agree that these two folks look very similar? We're going to use the comparison tools to kind of figure out, hey, are they or are they not? So this is your overlap tool. And let me see if I can get this to run. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Okay, so what it's going to happen is we're going to overlap the two pictures, and we're going to just slide it side to side to be able to compare. And when you're doing this, you can look at things like, hey, are their ears at the same height? Are their eyes at the same height? Do their lips match up? And this is going to be something, it's not going to be a perfect match, but it allows you to get a good look at how do these two set up. And it's the same thing, but it's just doing it horizontally now. Okay, letting you, and it's going to do its best to put the images together the closest it can, but it gives you that tool. All right, this one is blend. So we're taking the two pictures and we are superimposing them, and then we are going to show the differences. And in this particular case, I keep saying the ears, look at the height of the ears. It's absolutely different. These are not the same people. They're actually twins. You figured that out, okay. Then using our annotation tool or the landmark measurement tool, you can do things, and I don't know if you can see the picture very well, but you can measure the distances, between features on the face, and then you can highlight things so that you can say, hey, this guy has these bumps on his forehead, but this one doesn't. This guy is not my guy. Same thing with the ear height. They highlighted the ear height difference in order for you to be able to say, hey, this is not my guy. So this tool can be used to prove that somebody's not somebody that you're looking for as well. All right. This is just the final product. This is the facial identification, annotations. And it's up to you how you want to annotate, but the more the better, obviously. Step 4, verify your choice. Okay, this is where you do your due diligence as an investigator. We talked about it earlier. You need to make sure, hey, was he in custody? Hey, is he a burglar? I'm working burglary case. Anything you need to do your investigation, this is something you need to absolutely do. Don't ever arrest anybody based solely on facial recognition on a potential match. You've got to do the work on the back end. That's verifying your choice. The other thing that you need to not understand, but don't do this in a vacuum. Don't work on this because maybe you spend an hour, 2 hours doing all these comparisons and all the using the tools to come up with a possible match. You're going to get vested in that thing, and that's your bad guy. You need to take your choice and bring it to your peers and say, hey, what do you think? This is why I think. What do you think? And if you take it to 2 people or 3 people and they say, 2 of them say no and you say yes, you need to reconsider, hey, maybe that's not my bad guy. Okay, so make sure your peers get a chance to take a look at your work. Don't get in bed with your person just because you've spent a lot of time and effort on it. Okay? The possible match. The bottom line, this is only a lead. That's all it is. It's not your bad guy. It's only a lead. So make sure that you understand that, and anybody who sees what you have to work with does that as well. Okay? So this is the 5-step workflow in a nutshell. If you follow that, you're going to be pretty solid and pretty safe on using the technology. The other thing you have to have is you got to have a policy. You got to have a policy because if you don't have a policy, the privacy advocates are going to lose their minds and say you're doing whatever it is that you want to do. So make sure before you start actively using this program, you have a policy. And I know, like I said, Long Beach is working on it, but you don't have one right now. Okay? All right, so documenting the process. This is essentially the different types of reports that we offer. We have a rejected report. This is not suitable for facial recognition. This would be something like Chief Luna has a picture of somebody and they send it to you and they say, hey, we need you to do this. And it's not a suitable image and you got to prove why or tell them why. This rejected image report something you can fill out and send back to the chief's office and say, you know what, chief, this wasn't the guy and these are the reasons why. Also, a no match report would be you have an image and you've done your due diligence and you can't find anybody in the system that's a match, you can generate that report. And then finally, the possible match report, I showed you that one. That's going to be your documentation for all your work that you did. And that's a great tool to have when you go to court. Remember, we talked about facial recognition technology is not admissible as evidence in court, but this is absolutely, this is your work. It's just your documentation of the work you did to generate a lead. Okay, we already talked about that 2 seconds ago. Okay, so I'm going to do, in the interest of making sure that we do this in a manner, I knew that I was coming to Long Beach. I knew the internet connection isn't good. So I have a example that I did in the past. And what I wanted to do is show this to you to kind of show you live, what the technology can do for you when it comes to a picture. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. It was for a webinar that I did for a group, so just ignore the banter and stuff. Just try to watch for the application.
So facial recognition, I'm not going to get into the how, but let me just show you real quick. This is the tool. We're going to jump in. We're going to identify a picture that we're needing to work with, and I'm going to go ahead and use ones that I already have. And this is a very typical picture. This is a shoplifter. What we're going to do is we're going to take the image and we're going to look at it and we're going to say, hey, do we need to do anything to it? Well, your training is going to tell you probably just need to crop that thing and throw some filters on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go click Image Enhancement to enable my tools. And I'm just going to clean it up. We have basic cleanup tools. We're going to crop it, grab her face. That's pretty much all I need to do with this one. So I'm going to go finish and go to search. I'm going to throw, remember we talked about it doesn't know if it's male, female, white, green, blue. We're going to throw the data filters on it as the investigator. Okay, so she's female, she's white, top 250. This is, I'm not doing any enhancement really to it, so I'm going to go with the top 250. What gallery do you want to compare it against? All of them for me. This case is out of Texas, so I'm going to limit my searches just to Texas. Okay, and then I'm going to run the search. And what it's going to do, it's going to hit me with Y, and we're going to have to put in some information, which is all auditable by the agency. We're going to run the search, and it's going to bring back we're going to call possible matches. And we have a disclaimer. And right off the get-go, I've done this one a bunch of times, so I know already, but it seems to me that this person may be the person that I'm looking for. Well, as the investigator, I'm going to go ahead and click the picture because I'm saying, okay, maybe. So let's click on it. We're going to bring up the comparison tools by hitting the compare box. And this is going to enable the different tools that we have to do some comparisons. So here's one. We have the overlap tool, where essentially you can take the picture and you can compare by overlapping the two pictures. We have a blend tool, which allows you to blend the picture to be able to compare. We have a really cool tool called the 3D tool, which it generates a 3D image of the picture and then allows you to manipulate that picture so that you can see different angles and be able to compare. So I'm looking for, for me, the big mole on her face is what's jumping out at me. Eye structure, the way that this is similar here, the shape of her nose. These are all the different things that are popping out at me. And then we have a tool called wireframe, which turns this into a 3D face print, which allows you to compare without the distraction of the actual face. So if there's a bump on the forehead, it's going to show up. And you can see this kind of stuff just by using this wireframe tool. It's pretty amazing. Let me shut that. Let me do one more for you real quick. This will be the last one. So this is a male white out of Florida. He's our poster child for facial recognition. This picture is absolutely 100% not suitable for facial recognition. And there's a whole host of reasons, but the bottom line is, hey, he ain't looking at the picture, at the camera. His face is not showing where, you know, we can't see both eyes. And eyes are the key for the actual facial recognition process. It's just wrong from a whole bunch of different angles. So we're going to go ahead and use some of these tools to show you that we can take a picture. Actually, before I do that, let me show you something. So we're going to run this picture. Let me just throw some filters on here. He's male, white. I'll go top 750. All my galleries. He's not out of Texas. This young gentleman is out of Florida. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this search with no enhancements to show you that he absolutely is not going to show up in the system. It's not suitable for facial recognition. There you go. It's not suitable. So now I can do some enhancements to it using our tool base. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to crop it because I don't need the extra noise. All I want is his face. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate his face, the picture, because I need to have, when we do facial recognition, we're looking to compare a image that looks like a booking photo to other images that look like booking photos. All right. So this is great. We have a tool called Define Eyes. Allows us to say, is that where his eyes are? They're not. So we can actually drill right in, put the pupil for the search right on where the pupil is supposed to be. And we hit apply. Next thing we're going to do with this picture is you need to have the face to be able to do facial recognition. So we have an angle adjust tool that allows us to change the way that the picture is being viewed to match the picture that you have to work with. This is to get the alignment right. So we're going to do that. It's going to generate this image that looks like a freak. Okay. What's missing here? Well, it's the other side of his face. Well, we have the ability to do this. We can use merge face to take the other side of his face and create from what wasn't there an image that might possibly be suitable for facial rec. So it said it knows it lost the eyes. Can you define them? Yes, that's not correct. I, the facial examiner, put them in the right spot. Okay, then I hit apply. This is a image that is going to be analyzed by the system. So I'm going to say go to search. Okay, and I'm taking that image and I'm now going to run it. I hope you guys are hanging in there. It's 10:06. What do I got? I got 27 people still hanging in there. Hopefully it's worth it. It's really an amazing tool. Okay, so these are my possible matches. The investigator has to go through these pictures, and identify what possible one could be my suspect. In this case, I'm looking for this big hunk of tattoo on his face, the droopy eyes, maybe the tattoo on his mouth. So I'm just going to go through the images, and I'm looking for anything that it's called a lock. You guys see something that I see? This is a very similar hunk of tattoos. Well, I think that might be my guy. So I'm going to compare. I'm going to bring this up. And for the sake of time, what I'll do is I'll just show you the result instead of doing all the comparisons. But I just want to show you how you get the two pictures. You have the ability to do annotations. Annotations are taking the images and drawing the reasons why you believe that this is your person. So let me show you a result for this one I did this morning. So this is the possible match report. So this is the picture I started with. This is the information from the database off the internet. These are the original, the enhanced image, and then the possible match. The enhancement history, all the things I did to it to enhance it to make it suitable. And then I actually did annotations, which I need to reduce my screen size here. Let's see if I can. Why am I not able to do that? There we go. So what I've done is similar earring hole. I've highlighted it and brought it together. Similar lip tattoo, same thing, and then the tattoo on his forehead. And then I take this thing, I print it up, and this will be my document that I can actually keep in the case file that I can use to refresh my recollection when I go to court. And that, my friends, in a nutshell, so facial recognition.
So that, what I was going to say is that's how the tools work. Okay, that's absolutely how the tools work. And I hope that by seeing that, you can see potentially what you can do. It is powerful. It's very powerful. I will tell you, one of the things that you might want to consider is use these tools to enhance your images, to use what you're already using. I don't know if CalGang still has facial recognition in it, or Lacris, but you can actually take the image that you had, do your enhancements, and then use that image to enroll in those programs that you're already using. So use the application in a way that's going to help you create something that maybe wasn't suitable into something that is, and that's going to get you a lead. Okay, just like we talked about with LPR, we offer training. Okay, we have a great. I highlighted Las Vegas Metro. We have a gentleman. He's a retired police officer from Las Vegas Metro. He is the facial recognition guru. He's amazing, and he's a trainer on our team. And he does in-person training and does webinars. If you go to our training site, remember we go and learn, go to vslea.org via the site. We have webinars, we have on-site training for facial recognition. We will add on-demand training for facial recognition. We're working on it. Okay, it's not there yet, but it is. I'll make this PowerPoint available for you guys to have, if you want to take it and use it for that. As far as my contact information, if you need help, please, please, please reach out to me. My phone number's there. I'm in Texas now. I'll help you. And if I can't help you, I'll find somebody that can. This is great. This is a great tool, and we want you guys to use it. You have it. We want you to use it properly, so make sure that, and I'm going to help get you guys dialed in as far as policy and stuff, but absolutely please try to use this. Brandon, any questions?
Nope, I asked.
All right, perfect. Well, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully you guys learned something and you're intrigued, and good luck and be safe, and call me if you need any help. All right, thanks all.